So, just another one of those days where I'm doing both. But we thank you that we can come and bring the Word of God. We thank you that you're all here to listen to me. Just for anybody who's listening online, you're very, very welcome to come and join us at 11 o'clock on Sunday morning. And we do hope that you're blessed by the Word today, and you'll take it up, and the Word of the Lord will speak to your heart. Amen. So, I've got a couple of volunteers at the minute. Malachi, if you want to go just down onto the front here, and Patricia, if you can walk. Patricia's very kindly going to do a reading for me. And while she's doing that, I'm going to get Malachi to hold this glass of water. So, does any of you know what weight would roughly be in this glass of water? I was looking at there were 3 throwaway cups there, and they're about 8 ounces. So, it's roughly about 8 ounces, right, Malachi? If you can hold that out, like that there, and I don't, now you just keep your eye on him. I don't want him to be doing this, I don't want him to be doing this. He has to hold it out straight. Thank you very much, Malachi. Come you to the front again, so just stand there, that's right. Thank you very much. And you hold your eye out straight, nice, straight on. That is fantastic. You okay with that, yeah? Yeah? It's not heavy, so it's not. It's not heavy, no. So it's only a glass of water. Okay. Thank you. Patricia. Patricia's going to read for us.
Exodus 16, verse 1 to 18. They set out from Elim, and all the congregation of the people of Israel came to the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the 2nd month, after they had departed from the land of Egypt. And the whole congregation of the people of Israel grumbled against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the people of Israel said to them, "Would that we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the meat pots and ate bread to the full, for you have brought us out into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Behold, I am about to rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a day's portion every day, that I may test them, whether they will walk in my law or not. On the 6th day, when they prepare what they bring in, it will be twice as much as they gather daily." So Moses and Aaron said to all the people of Israel, "At evening you shall know that it was the Lord who brought you out of the land of Egypt. And in the morning you shall see the glory of the Lord, because he has heard your grumbling against the Lord. For what are we that you grumble against us?" And Moses said, "When the Lord gives you in the evening meat to eat, and in the morning bread to the full, because the Lord has heard your grumbling, that you grumble against him, what are we? Your grumbling is not against us, but against the Lord." Then Moses said to Aaron, "Say to the whole congregation of the people of Israel, come near before the Lord, for he has heard your grumbling." And as soon as Aaron spoke to the whole congregation of the people of Israel, they looked toward the wilderness, and behold, the glory of the Lord appeared in the cloud. And the Lord said to Moses, "I have heard the grumbling of the people of Israel. Say to them, at twilight you shall eat meat, and in the morning you shall be filled with bread. Then you shall know that I am the Lord your God." In the evening quail came up and covered the camp, and in the morning dew lay around the camp. And when the dew had gone up, there was on the face of the wilderness a fine flake-like thing, fine as frost on the ground. When the people of Israel saw it, they said to one another, "What is it?" For they did not know what it was. And Moses said to them, "It is the bread that the Lord has given you to eat. This is what the Lord has commanded. Gather of it, each one of you, as much as he can eat. You shall each take an omer, according to the number of the persons that each of you has in his tent." And the people of Israel did so. They gathered some more, some less. But when they measured it with an omer, Whoever gathered much had nothing left over, and whoever gathered little had no lack. Each of them gathered as much as he could eat. This is the end of the reading.
Thank you, Patricia. That's excellent reading, Patricia. I'm glad you don't stop me. No. Malachi, you're on it, sword. It's only a glass of water. That's it. Good man. Thank you very much. I've left myself. I can't get my sheets changed. I don't know what you but it's pretty warm in here. You don't think so? Could somebody open some windows for me? Maybe, or turn the heating off? Is the heating on? No? I don't think any of you want to really help me, do you? I don't think you really care about me. Is there anybody, he's going to help me today or not? Or what's the crack? Can anybody see the problem? It's me. I'm living in last season's last season's last season's clothes, and I'm absolutely roasting. Can't get that off. Oh, that's warm. Is that enough? Everything's off, isn't it? Still feeling warm. And I think that's where the children of Israel were with this year. They were still living in the season where they were thinking about all the food that they had and everything. Sorry, are you all right? So I maybe left Malachi a wee bit long. Our state, it's a sewer. Anyway, children of Israel, as you can see, were grumbling and moaning about the situation that they were now in. And they were a wee bit like me, because I was grumbling to you guys just a minute ago. I was living in my winter clothes. I was living in last season. And that always causes problems. So it does. So God doesn't want you to live in the past. He doesn't want you to live with past hurts, past disappointments, past failures. He doesn't want you to look back. He wants you to look forward. And this is in Philippians 3, verse 12 to 14. You okay, Malachi? Not that I have already obtained this, or am already perfect, but I press on to make it my own, because Christ Jesus has made me his own. Brothers, I do not consider that I have made it my own, but one thing I do, forgetting what lies behind, and straining forward to what lies ahead, I press towards the goal for the prize for the upward call of God in Christ Jesus. God will not, and you cannot alter your past. It's exactly where it is. It says it's the past. It's in the past. That's where it is. It has to stay there. And only we can choose to live in the present, or we can choose to live in the past. And we can choose to take a fresh manna, just as the children of Israel get this fresh manna every day. We can choose to get fresh manna from God as we seek his face, and we don't need to be thinking about living in the past. Malachi, you look like you're really struggling like that. Here, I'll relieve you. Thank you, Malachi. I had to pick Malachi because he's the strongest. So, God bless you. Amen. So, tell me this. Is this glass of water any heavier than whenever I first gave it to Malachi? Still about 8 ounces, isn't it? And what Malachi learned was it wasn't the glass of water, the weight of it. He was fit to hold it okay at the start. It was the length of time that he held on to it. And therein lay the problem. And that's the same for us. The stresses and the strains and the worries of this world, if we think about them for a wee while, it's okay. We normally do that anyway, we'll think about it. But if we think about that problem for an hour, just as Malachi, he was only holding on for a few minutes. If you were holding that glass of water out for an hour, it would really begin to hurt. If you're holding it all day, your arm would become numb and be useless to you. And that's exactly the same as our stresses and worries and cares in this world. If we hold on to them for a long period of time, if we hold on for an hour, they begin to hurt. If we hold on to them all day, we become paralyzed. And even the smallest wee task becomes a mountain. It seems like it's a massive task to do, and yet all God is saying to you, just exactly the same as this glass. It's time to put the glass down. It's time to leave the past in the past. You can't do nothing about that. Your worries, your fears, they're all gone. That's it. It's pressing on towards the mark, towards the high calling of God. It's time to press on with God and not to think about the past and head towards that upward call of Jesus Christ. So, think about the children of Israel again. Really, how can we do this? How can we do this better than them? We should be looking towards this season that we're in, not even thinking about next season, but leaving the season that we've just left behind. And if we look back to verse 2, it says, "And the whole congregation of the people of Israel grumbled against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the people of Israel said to them, Would that we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt. And when we sat by the meat pots and we ate bread to the full, you have brought us out into the wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger." Do you know the people of Israel were thinking about Egypt? And it's funny how, we talk about the good old days. We look back and think, that's the good old days. Things was better back then. But were they really? To the children of Israel, they had forgot about their hard taskmasters, beating them with the whip and making them work in the heat of the day. All of a sudden, they had forgot all about that there. And it's funny how we can do is exactly the same thing. We should be holding on to the memories is the only thing that we should be holding on to of the good things that God has done for us. And that's the way we should be thinking. Gratitude erases negative thoughts. Just keep that in your head. Gratitude erases negative thoughts. If we start going over in our mind all the good things that God has done for us, where He's brought us from, and how He's saved us, and how He's redeemed us, He's brought us thus far. And I'm sure some of you are old enough to remember the wee song, "Count Your Blessings," name them one by one, and it will surprise you what the Lord has done. That's what we need to do every day. We need to count our blessings. If we're starting to think about negative thoughts, we need to do the opposite and bounce those negative thoughts straight to what God has already done for us and what He is doing for us and what He has done for us. And it says in Matthew 11, verse 28 to 30, it says, Come unto me, all you who labour, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, for my burden is light. If you can imagine that water being your burden, just give it to the Lord. It's a wee bit lighter now, isn't it? You just passed it on to the Lord. And that's all He's looking for you to do. Give Him all your burdens, give Him all your cares. And it says in 1 Peter 5, verse 6 to 10, Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, so at the proper time He may exalt you, casting all your anxieties on Him, because He cares for you. Be sober-minded, be watchful, for your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. Resist him, firm in your faith, knowing that the same kinds of suffering that are being experienced by your brotherhood throughout the world, and after you've suffered a little while, God of all grace, who has called you to His eternal glory in Christ, will Himself restore, confirm, strengthen, and establish you. If you can just keep those 4 words in your head, that He will restore you, He'll confirm, He'll strengthen, and He'll establish you. If you're not going to be in this situation your whole life, God's going to come and rescue you. You're not alone in your suffering. The stuff that you're going through, your brothers and sisters are going through, are all around the world. And probably in a lot of those countries where they're oppressed for their religion and their belief in Christ, they're going through worse stuff than we are. So no matter what you're going through, remember that your other brothers and sisters are going through the same things. Remember to stay grateful. Count your blessings. Think about what you have, not what about what you have, not about what you don't have. Very often, even whenever we're speaking here in Northern Ireland, we say, you wouldn't give me that wee glass of water, or you couldn't. We were already talking in the negative to begin with. And God's trying to rewrite our mindset that we are more than conquerors through Christ who strengthened us. So remember, gratitude erases negative thoughts. It's time to move into that new season that God has for you, that new season in Christ. Sometimes you just can't, and you feel like you're in a trap. And I'm looking for one more volunteer. Michelle, coming up here. So, all these things. Can you read that now? Right, I'm going to put this ball in through the hole. There, it fits. Now, can you lift that ball out, Michelle? No, back through the hole. No? No. You see, now this is what I'm getting at. Thank you very much, Michelle. Thank you. I'm going to tell you a wee story about a bushman. And obviously bushmen are hunters. They're skilled in what they do. If me and you was out in the bush, we'd probably die. We wouldn't have a clue how to survive. We wouldn't have know how to look after ourselves. And this is what a bushman does whenever he's looking for water, or food for that matter. But this is what he does. He will get some berries, and he'll dig a hole, usually in an ant hole, so it's hard clay, and he'll put the berries inside, and the baboon comes along. Now, baboons are notorious for knowing where to get water. They keep it a secret, and they don't want you to know, because obviously that's their source. And this is what he does. The bushman comes along, digs a small hole, puts some berries in, and the baboon comes along, puts his hand in, but he hasn't the sense to let go. He wants the berries. He hasn't the sense to let go of what's in there. And the bushman comes along, puts a noose around his neck and ties him to a tree. And then he gives him some salt to lick. And the wee baboon sitting licking away at salt, thinking this is great. But then, as you know, you're eating something vinegar crisp, you're ready for a drink after it. And what happens then? He lets the baboon go. And the baboon's not thinking about keeping his wee water place a secret. He runs straight to that water place. And the bushman runs after him. And he finds maybe a cavern that the baboon's down in, and there's lovely water, and all the other baboons is there, all the baboon's family is there drinking this same water. And the bushman has the opportunity to drink just the same as the rest. He also has the opportunity to capture the other baboons, because there's only one route in and one route out. And all because the baboon wouldn't let go. Wouldn't let go. And there's a wee thought in that there for us. We can leave ourselves vulnerable because we're not willing to let go of the past. We're too busy living in the past, as I was trying to live in the past winter clothes, and it was making life very difficult for me. But you remember there's a roaring lion, an enemy, who's coming there, and if he can get you, if he can capture you because you've got your hands stuck in the past, he's coming for your family next. Which is very unfortunate, and you've led them straight to him. So if you can learn to let go of the past and look forward to the future, the enemy's not going to catch you. And he's not going to catch you. He's not going to catch your family. You've got to move into your new season. Now, new seasons bring new challenges. And if you look at the story, then we're not going to read it all. I'll get you up again, Patricia. This will be a very long one. Of David and Goliath. You still know the story of David and Goliath. And it's 1 Samuel 17, verses 1 to 51. Very, very long. So it is. But one of the things that I wanted to come out from that, obviously David, he goes to the battle lines, and this Philistines shouting against the armies of the living God, and nobody's willing to go and sacrifice their life against this great Philistine that's coming against them. And it's in verse 23, at the very end of verse 23, it says, and David heard him. David heard Goliath spouting off about how good he was and how he was going to squash the armies of Israel. And that was the key thing. David heard him. It says in verse 45, then David said to the Philistine, you come to me with the sword and the spear and the javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts. And that's what the Lord is looking you to do for your new season. The Lord is looking you to go forward in the name of the Lord of hosts, because I ain't strong enough, and I'm sure you aren't strong enough to stand against the mighty Philistine, against all the evil of this world. But if we go in the name of the Lord, we are. And so that's the difference here. So there's all these other men, all these other soldiers. David was the one that said, I heard him. David heard him. He heard what was going on, and he seen the situation that had to be addressed. And this is a question I want to ask myself, and I want to ask you before I close here. What do you hear in the new season of your life? What is God calling you to do? Maybe you're like David, and God is choosing you over your brothers or over your sisters. Maybe this is your season. Maybe this is your time. God's not calling you. He went right through all at the time David was called to be the king. Right through, and it was only this young, ruddy, handsome boy that David called. Maybe you're handsome in here this morning, and God's calling you to step forth. Or, maybe you are like Jonah. So you could, but remember, you need to see the Goliath, first of all, in your life, and he needs to be slain. Do you know what God's asking you to do? Do you know what God's asking you to fulfill? But again, we all know the story of Jonah. So we do, we know about the fish. Some people call it a whale. A fish, we know the fish. But here's a wee extract from Jonah I want to read. And I don't know if you've ever considered it. Obviously, Jonah was called by God to go and do something. And he didn't want to do it. And he actually wanted to go the opposite way. And very often we are guilty of that. We are guilty of going the opposite way from what God has actually called us to do. And this is Jonah's prayer, verse 17. Now the Lord provided a huge fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. And then Jonah's prayer was this. From inside the fish, Jonah prayed to the Lord his God. He said, in my distress I called to you, Lord, and he answered me. From the deep and in the realm of the dead I called for help, and you listened to me. You hurled me into the depths, into the very heart of the sea, and the current swirled around me. All your waves and breakers swept over me. So, as we can see, very often we see the image of Jonah being thrown into the sea, and all of a sudden this fish comes and gets him. But this is not what Jonah's saying here in his prayer. He's saying that he sank into the depths. And I said, I have been banished from your sight, yet I will look again toward your holy temple. The engulfing waters swept me, and the deep surrounded me. Seaweed had wrapped around my head. To the roots of the mountains I sank down. The earth barred me in forever. But you, O Lord my God, brought my life from the pit. And when my life was ebbing away, I remembered you, Lord, and my prayer rose to you, to your holy temple. So, as he was sinking deeper and deeper, out of breath, actually the fish came along and rescued him, and he was able to take a breath again once he was in the fish's mouth. And then, of course, it said at the end of that, and the Lord commanded the fish, and it vomited Jonah onto the dry ground. Jonah refused to listen. Is that you, or is that I? Are we refusing to listen to what God's actually calling us to do? And this is one of the things that I picked up whenever I was reading about Jonah. It says in the story of Jonah, God sent the storm. Are you going through a storm in your life at the minute? Could it be God that sent that storm? Is he trying to get your attention? Is he trying to get you to come on board again? Not that you've done any bad sin, not that you walk away from God. You're just not doing what God has asked you to do. And then, if you think about Jonah, it says he was free to go and do. Do you ever think of God's name? G-O and D-O is both in God's name. God. Go and do. God's calling you to go and do. He's calling me to go and do. Or you can say you're like Jacob in Genesis 32, verse 22 to 28. It says this is whenever Jacob wrestled with God. And Jacob was left alone, verse 24, and the man wrestled with him until the breaking of day. When the man first saw that he did not prevail against Jacob, he touched his hip socket, and Jacob's hip was put out of joint as he wrestled with him. Then he said, "Let me go, for the day is broken." But Jacob said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." Maybe it's time to wrestle with God. When's the last time we spent the whole night in prayer? Not me. My head hits the pillow. I don't know if they sleep solid. I might make it up again. Maybe in an hour's time, but I don't know. But when's the last time we actually sat down and we wrestled with God? Maybe we even fasted, prayed, and sought God really sincerely and really truly. It's time in this new season to seek God. You know, I'm sure some of you remember a wee man called Sidney Murray. And Sidney used to say this wee saying, and there's probably a whole lot more, but I remember this here saying. He said, from smoking fags to ham and eggs, from a Johnny Walker to a gospel talker, from King Billy in the back to King Jesus in my heart. That was the experience of Sidney Murray and, of course, his wife too. And that was incredible. That was just a change around. A bit like Paul on the Damascus Road. And really, my challenge to me this morning, and my challenge to you this morning, since we have decided, right, we're going to leave the past in the past, we're not going to get trapped, we're not going to get our family involved, are we now ready to walk in this new season that God has brought us here? We're all here today, obviously, and we're all available, I hope. And that's all I'm asking you this morning, asking me this morning. In this new season, what am I willing to do for God? Thanks for listening. Thanks for all the volunteers and all your help. I very much appreciate it.